The company of the prophets knew that Elisha was to be feared as the prophet of the Lord. Israel had some additional responsibility in accepting or rejecting prophetic utterance. According to the same passage, they were to test the message with what they knew from the teaching they had already received from God's spokespersons, like the law of Moses. If a prophet were speaking in the name of the Lord, then their message would be consistent with the already revealed message from the Lord. As we said earlier, this is similar to what we do today. We listen to the voice of God's messengers to us with our Bibles open. Any messenger of God will speak a message that is consistent with God's already revealed word. The entirety of the law from the Mosaic Covenant, which served as Israel's Bible, was the firm foundation on which the nation was to stand. Every message was to be evaluated from the foundational teaching of this law. They must always be asking, did the message from such and such a prophet conform to God's already revealed message? One test which Israel was to use was an easy one. As mentioned above, Deuteronomy chapter 13 verses 1 through 5 states a principle very clearly. If a prophet were to ever proclaim that Israel should go after another god, then that prophecy should not only be shunned, that prophet should be put to death. There was not to be any tolerance for a prophet who sought to lead the nation away from the Lord. This kind of evil was to be purged from Israel's midst immediately. Finally, the people of Israel were to verify the signs of the prophet. When the Lord called Moses to go to the nation of Israel to deliver them out of their Egyptian slavery, Moses curiously asked, "What if they will not believe me?" So the Lord gave him 3 signs to give to the people to verify that he was a prophet. He could throw down his staff and it would turn into a snake. Then he could pick it up by the tail and it would turn back into his staff. Or he could put his hand in his cloak and pull it out and it would be leprous. Then he could put his hand back into his cloak and pull it out and it would be healed. Or he could take water from the Nile River, pour it onto the ground, and it would become blood. For Israel to require such proof was not a negative thing. God gave prophets the ability to produce these signs in order to verify their prophetic message. The signs meant that the prophet was sent by the Lord and that his words were the words of the Lord. The prophet was also to conform to criteria as set forth by other passages. According to Deuteronomy 18:18, he was to be an Israelite and clearly called by the Lord. His only authority was speaking in the name of the Lord, as if the Lord himself was speaking. In Numbers chapter 11, verse 17, the prophetic role, including the message, was to be empowered by the Holy Spirit. How they received their message, we do not always know, but we do know that their message was Holy Spirit empowered. And finally, the prophet was to be a good shepherd who genuinely cared for the Lord's people, not an evil shepherd who was self-seeking. Both of these types of shepherds are described in Ezekiel chapter 34. True prophets obediently brought a message from the Lord because that is what the people needed to hear. And they delivered this message regardless of the personal cost.